Hello and welcome to Nobody Meets Somebody, the podcast where two comedians
who are currently nobody.
meet somebody.
Oh, shit, sorry. My bad, that's my bad.
All right.
I think I'm thinking. All right, take two.
Hello and welcome to Nobody Meets Somebody, the podcast where two comedians
who are currently nobody
meet somebody.
Who is famous. My name is Mary Picarazzi.
And I'm Tanvi Darora.
In today's episode, we got to talk with Brian Bates. He's a Nashville comic who has also toured with Nate Bargatze on the Good Problem to Have tour. He's also part of the popular podcast Nateland, which is heard by thousands of listeners every week.
I'm excited for this one. I love Nashville as a city, and I love the comedy scene there. So I'm super excited to talk to this guy.
All right, let's talk to Brian. Welcome. Hi, Brian. How are you?
Good. How are you?
We are phenomenal. You're out in Nashville?
I am.
Nice. You guys have snow out there right now?
No, it's very cold today, but no snow.
Okay. We're just hoping we get a guess with snow.
Yeah. Are you guys in San Antonio?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It is cold and random.
Yeah.
That's a fair assessment.
I've been to San Antonio one time, and I think that was the one time I met you.
Yeah, that was a great show. You guys were downtown the Majestic. It's a phenomenal venue.
Yeah.
Hopefully we'll have you back soon once all this COVID nonsense goes away.
We had a crazy incident happen that night.
What happened?
So I was there with Nate Bargatze. And after the show, myself and Nate and his road manager, we walked somewhere to eat. And we were walking through downtown San Antonio. We ate at a nice restaurant, and then we were walking back to our hotel, and there was I didn't really get a good look at them. They looked like teenagers in a park, and one of them just started firing a gun.
Whoa.
And I think he was shooting like at a stop sign or something, but we didn't wait to find out. We just all took off running as fast as we could to our hotel.
Welcome to San Antonio.
I know.
That is not a good representation of our city.
No, you got the whole experience. Not many people get that.
I didn't say it wasn't accurate. It wasn't accurate, but it wasn't the good version of our city.
Yeah.
Did you go on Google and leave us a review of San Antonio?
But it helped perpetuate the stereotype we have of Texas that everyone's carrying.
Yeah, we can't get away from that. Yeah. Well, we have our fun-filled questions today. I have my handy-dandy little sparkly hat because we're that high-tech. Timber, what you got?
I got my Pyrex cup because I really want Pyrex to sponsor this podcast.
Wow.
It'll happen. It'll happen someday.
This is how high budget we are. I just want to let you know we took out all the stops for you. All right. So my first question I have is, favorite city to perform in?
Well, probably not San Antonio. I really like Denver.
Nice.
They have a good comedy scene and good clubs, and it's a pretty city. So I really like. I like Salt Lake City also. I've been there a couple times, and that's a fun city, and they're good comedy fans.
That's good.
Oh, what made you want to be a clean comic?
Oh, that's a good question.
Yes, when I got to know about you and I read, he's a clean comic, my first question was why?
Well, a few reasons. One, that's just my personality and how I was raised. So if I wasn't a clean comic, it probably wouldn't seem authentic, and I probably wouldn't be able to pull it off. And on top of that, it also benefits me as far as getting bookings because there's so many places, corporates, churches, whatever. Obviously, you got to be clean,
right?
And so that works in my favor. And even in clubs, I mean, even if you're opening for a dirty headliner, they don't want you to be dirty because that's their thing,
right?
So it helps to be clean, even in clubs, unless you're the headliner, and then you can do whatever you want.
Fair enough.
Yeah, it's interesting when you see a dirty opener and a clean headliner. It just ruins the show for them. It does.
Yeah, it's rare to see that.
Yeah, that's interesting. I hadn't even thought about that because you imagine the crowd that's there. They're there for that headliner and he's clean. Yeah, That's not the crowd you're attracting necessarily, right? All right. So, this is a good one. So, when you do comedy writing, do you use electronics like phone, tablets, or do you do pen and paper?
I now do electronics. I think when I first started, I would write it out on a legal pad, and I still write my set list on note cards, index cards. But as far as just working out jokes and writing them out, I do it on my laptop. I just
Oh, wow. Okay.
go in notes and save it on there.
I say it's more like Tanvir. I'm the other. I'll go through 50,000 sheets of paper before I go to use an electronic.
Yeah. Oh, you're old school. See, I figured I would be the only one that would have ever done that.
Well, it just depends on how you learn. Like I know I'm a tactile learner, so if I don't write it down, I don't remember it. So it's just the memory cadence too. If I read it like that on the screen, I won't remember it when it comes time. I've done that before. I did it once when I first started, and I would forget a whole bit of the joke, and I'm like, "Dadgummit!" But when I wrote it out, I never forgot it.
What's a tactile learner?
It's you learn by touch.
Ah,
So
Yeah.
writing to pen to
You
pen to
type
paper.
on the keyboard and you touch the keyboard. I'm not like using my voice. Okay, I don't know. All right.
Saying there's a difference. There's a huge difference in learning. Like a physical book.
Tactile.
I'm done. I'm done. I can't work with this guy.
What's the worst advice you've ever received from someone?
oh boy, worst advice. I don't know if this is the worst, but the first thing that comes to my mind is I've had comics who are dirty try to convince me to be dirty because it'll make my act better or whatever. And I mean, I guess I can't swear that that's bad advice because I never tried it, but I just know me and I know my voice, and it just would not be a good idea for me to try to do something I'm not. So they don't do that anymore. But early on in my career, when I was less established and still trying to, just find my voice, I got a voice. I got advice that from comics that were dirty that I should be more dirty. And I just don't think that's good advice.
Yeah. I mean, you have to be true to your style,
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
That's fair. Ooh, that's funny. I got what's the best advice you've ever received?
Oh, equally as hard of a question. So maybe that's a harder question for me because I've gotten lots of great advice. My buddy Nate Bargatze, he always says the best advice he ever got was whenever you feel yourself being comfortable, it's time to do something to make yourself not comfortable.
Nice.
Yeah.
And in his case, it was moving from different cities. He was in New York for a long time. He got where he could get into every club he wanted to and get on stage, but he realized it wasn't a challenge anymore. So he moved to LA. He's moved a few times. Now I haven't done that, but I understand his sentiment about if you get comfortable with something, it's time to change it or you won't grow. And so for me, it's always trying to write and get better and not rely just on my jokes that I've had for a while that I know work.
That's fair. Yeah. So you're out in Nashville, which I haven't visited to Nashville. Tanvir has. That's one of my bucket list items. Like we earlier in our episodes, we had Manit Chauhan on there.
Mm-hmm.
So of course she has a lot of great restaurants out in Nashville. So I think Nashville is such a booming place right now for comedy, and it's kind of ever evolving, even more so than some of the more staple places like LA or New York.
Yeah, what I'm finding is it seems like Tennessee and Texas are two states where a lot of people from California are moving to,
right?
Especially during the pandemic when everything's locked down. So we've had a few LA comics move to Nashville just during the pandemic.
Oh.
And then I know people like, of course, Joe Rogan moved to Texas. Elon Musk, he's not a comic, but people
He's
are
a
moving.
comic.
He might be. He might
in his own way, I guess.
But yeah, all the big companies are starting to move over, so that's going to be bringing some LA, flair over. How do you think that changes the scene?
I like it. I know some comics that don't like it because now it's harder to get stage time, and there's a trickle down effect. Of course, with pandemic right now, it's hard for anybody to get stage time. But personally, I like it. There's some more well-established comedians that have moved to Nashville because I think they're good examples to show you how to make it and to learn from, and if you're just hanging out with open micers, you're not going to learn as much. But if you watch seasoned professionals, you pick up on stuff. So we've had a few, like just in the last few months, we've had Theo Vaughn and Steve Byrne and Josh Wolf and Angela Johnson. And I'm probably forgetting some people, but they all moved to Nashville.
Nice.
That's really cool. I did not know that they all had moved. I've seen some performances and stuff that they posted, but that's interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Maybe we need to be moving to Nashville, Timber.
Hey, I think Texas is doing good too.
We're doing good. My only concern is that LA comics expected to turn the scene into what the LA scene is, which it loses the flair of where the city is. Like Austin has a flair that I wouldn't want changed to LA because we're not LA, right?
Right.
That's true, and I've heard some complaints about that here. I mean, Nashville has grown so much over the last few years. I'm sure San Antonio as well, but we have so many people who have moved to our city that it doesn't feel like it used to feel. And, it could be dangerous that if a lot of LA comics come here, it could change the scene in a bad way.
True.
But overall, I think it's a positive. I think I like to learn from good comics.
It's a good positive to take from it because I went straight to the negative, so that's probably a better way of doing it.
Yeah, there's pros and cons, I guess.
Speaking of negatives, and I think, Mary, you gave me all of these negative questions. Well, worst gig you ever have done. Why am I stuck with all these negative questions?
You set him up.
I'm just going to change every question from worst to best.
Worst gig I've ever done. Okay, there's a few to choose from.
Nice. Okay, this is interesting.
I really hope it's in Florida because that's.
You really hope what?
I hope it's in Florida because I think every worst gig I've ever had is in Florida. So
if it's not, but one of my top 3 or 4 would be in Florida. I performed at Off the Hook Comedy Club, which is down in southern Florida. I think Naples or something. And nothing really weird happened. I just bombed so bad. And it was just the only thing I can remember that was kind of off is the bar was not too far from the stage. And it was so quiet in there, you could hear the bartender blending up drinks.
Wow.
So there'd be moments I'm just telling my jokes and you just hear, and that's all you could hear because people weren't laughing. But my worst bombing that I usually tell happened just a couple years ago. And it happened in my hometown that I grew up in Tennessee. Someone reached out to me from the Wilson County Livestock Association, which is in my hometown, and asked me to come perform for a group of farmers. And they were raising money for a charity event. I mean, not a charity event. I'm sorry, for scholarships for college students. And they said they were going to do an auction. Asked if I would donate one of my CDs to be auctioned off, and I said sure. And then they asked me to come perform comedy. So I called my mom. I said, "Hey, I'm coming to Lebanon. That's the town. Perform." And she called all her friends, and she invited everybody out. And it was outdoors, which we know is terrible for comedy. It was in a picnic pavilion, and it was about 90 degrees, which I say was also the average age of the people there. They had giant fans blowing, so the only good thing about that is it kept the tears in my eyes. And the guy that went before me was from the county property assessor's office talking about proposed tax increase.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, okay, that's a different opener, but at least they'll like me better than this guy talking about a proposed tax increase. But I was dead wrong. They were much more interested in him than me. They at least wanted to hear about the tax. I just got up there and I bombed and I bombed and I bombed. I don't even think they realized it was a comedy show. I don't know what they thought. Maybe I was the mayor or something. and they're like, man, why is he talking about his girlfriend so much? But I just kept bombing. And I remember occasionally I would make eye contact with my mom. And it was just both like, oh boy, this was a huge mistake. And then I just bombed and I finally just got off stage. there really wasn't a stage. But you know how when you have a bad show, you just want to go hide in a green room or the back of you just want to be alone. Anywhere. There is no green room. There is no room to go hide. It's an outdoor picnic pavilion. So I had to sit down, squeeze in with people who I just bombed in front of.
Oh my God.
And then they started the live auction, and they're auctioning off bags of feed and cows and all this stuff. And everybody's really getting into it, and they're so excited now. And I didn't care as long as they weren't thinking about me anymore. And then I forgot, though, I donated that CD. So the auctioneer raises my CD. He's like, all right, who wants to bid on this CD from that comedian we just saw? And it got silent again. And no one wanted to buy it.
Did you bid on it?
No, I remember looking at my mom. I was looking down like, please don't
Your
let
mom
my
at least, mom's going to do that.
And then I looked over my mom, and she was looking down like, I don't want to have to buy this CD. I still have to live here. It was a terrible, terrible, terrible gig.
Oh my God. How did they get past that item? Did someone end up buying it, or did they? Yeah,
the guy who hired me, who was kind of organizing the whole event, just to be nice, he bid like $10 or whatever just to take it.
That's
just to get it out my hand.
Dang. That gets rougher the longer that story goes. Was it those metal chairs? Those folding metal chairs?
No. It wasn't folding metal chairs. It was long picnic benches that you had to kind of like crawl over, to one leg at a time to get in. And my mom rode with me. I picked her up, took her there with pride, and then just drove home with her in shame. I don't think either one of us talked the whole way home. We just got out of there.
It's like, no, we're good. We're good.
Thanks for bringing that up.
You're welcome.
Yeah, Tanvir. Jeez, that's so inconsiderate.
Hey, you wrote the questions.
Hey, so you got married later in life.
Yep.
What advice did your friends give you about being married? Tanvir and I are both married.
How long have you been married?
Well, I mean, we're not married to each other, but like to my husband.
Oh, Jesus, no.
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 So I've been married to my husband for 10.5 years.
Okay.
And Tanvir, what are you, 9?
10.
Oh, shit. I missed a few years, my bad.
It'd be weird if you guys were married to each other, but you're still doing Zoom from separate rooms.
It won't be weird at all. That's how it would be.
That would be horrible, gosh, no.
I can't be in the same room with her.
The echo you would just be hearing.
Yeah. No, it'll still be 2 separate houses.
That makes sense. What advice did my friends give me about getting married? Well, we went through premarital counseling, and that was a good thing. I mean, as a comic, I love some therapy, so I was all on board with it. Analyze away, but I don't know. I mean, just it's so weird because we're getting married so late in life that a lot of the pitfalls that younger couples have, I think we avoided. So we've and then we've been in this pandemic almost the entire time since we've been married. So I've been married now for 11 months, but I feel like that's equivalent to about 5 years.
In a pandemic, yeah.
When we're quarantined together.
Yes. Oh man, yeah.
I don't think I have any good example. I mean, I got a lot of good advice. I can't think of any good ones.
Did you get bad advice like before the wedding? Like, you have comic, friends that they love to give, advice all the time.
I mean, I'm sure I had some guy friends that said, "Don't do it. You're making a huge mistake."
Worst feedback you've ever received from a listener?
We get feedback from people on our podcast. We like to I don't know if you've seen it or not, but we pick on each other a lot, and I get picked on the most.
It's because you're so nice. That's why.
Yeah. Well, thank you. And then, or maybe don't thank you. I don't know if that's a compliment or insult. But I think I've had people message me and say, they think it's real in the sense that they think there's a problem. People message me saying, "Don't put up with that. You should, get out of that relationship," kind of thing.
Those are the vegans. Yeah.
Yeah, people like that who just don't get the comedy of it, and think there's a problem, so to speak. But as far as advice from audience members or something like that, we all had this where someone will come up after your set and give you a joke idea or a tag. I don't think I've ever gotten a good one. Not one that will fit my voice. Again, it's usually something that's dirty, which is fine for some comics, but that's not going to work for me. So sometimes I'll have people, and they'll watch my entire set, which at times could be 30 minutes or more. And then they'll give me a really, really dirty joke idea. And I'm like, did you see any of my set? What makes you think that would work for me?
Well, they spent the 30 minutes thinking of the joke to tell you.
Yeah, instead of listening, I guess.
I guess. Yeah, that never, yeah. Oh, I hate when people come up, especially when you tell them you're a comedian. Oh, it's either tell me a joke or I've got a joke for you. Both of them just don't end well.
No, I try my hardest to avoid telling anyone I'm a comedian for that very reason. But I just got through playing in a charity golf tournament, and I got paired up with a couple of guys I didn't know, and they kept asking me what I did. So I told them I was a comedian, and they were cutting jokes the entire day, but they were the hackiest internet, street jokes you've ever heard. Nice. And then they kept
my set, yeah.
They kept asking me to, now you tell me a joke. Tell me one of your jokes. And they didn't understand it doesn't work that way. And they probably thought they were so much funnier than I was because they're cracking themselves up all day with, dumb jokes. And I never told one. They're like, this guy must be the worst comedian in the world.
How much alcohol was involved, though? When you're on the golf course, there's quite a bit of alcohol involved. Yeah, so you get real funny when there's alcohol involved.
Yeah. So I hate funny. That.
Yeah, I feel you on that one. See, yeah. I have a worst one too. So 2 negatives make a positive, right? So this is a positive one.
Okay.
Worst heckler experience.
Oh, nice.
The one that comes to mind, I guess, is I used to have a joke. This is many years ago, where I said, "This is when I was single. My friends told me I need to sow my wild oats, but apparently I don't know how to farm." And then I would do things like, I don't know. I can't remember how the rest of the joke went, but when I said that one night, this guy in the audience said, "Maybe you need a bigger tractor." The audience laughed enough where I had to acknowledge it and couldn't just let it go. So, so then I kind of basically gave him credit for his joke. The one good thing from that came from it, I was videoing my set and I posted that clip on YouTube of that heckling, and it's gotten like over 1 million views.
Wow.
So, I mean, it's not exactly what I would like to go viral, someone heckling me, but hey, as comics, we'll take whatever we can get.
Yes. That's why we're in therapy all the time. That's exactly it. Yeah. That's funny. Oh, that's funny.
All right. This is not a negative one for a change. So if you were to get a superpower, what would that be?
You know what? I guess I would say fly so I could get to my shows quicker.
Have you ever been late to a show?
I have one. There's one time I remember missing a show. It was a show in Atlanta, and I still had a day job at the time. And I thought, all right, I'm going to work a half day and then head straight to Atlanta for the show. Atlanta is about 4 hours from Nashville.
Okay.
But on the way there was a major traffic jam. I think there was a bad wreck or something. And I'd given myself some padding, but not enough. And I didn't make it. To the show. And I felt so bad. And I got so close. I mean, I was so speeding so fast at the end to make it. And I just got there a few minutes late, but I didn't make it.
What did the promoter say when you got there?
Well, I was texting with the headliner because it was a theater down there, and he had, booked me for it. So I kept texting with him to give him my progress. But by the time I got there, I think he was already on stage. I mean, he understood. He didn't like it, of course, and maybe wished I'd taken a half-day vacation instead of working a half day just to give myself more time to get down there.
Right.
I mean, I felt terrible, but it happens. So I guess I'd like a superpower of flying, so then I could avoid traffic. And if I go to open mic and I'm number 22 on the list, I could fly back home.
3 things you would bring to a deserted island. Is it deserted or is it deserted? Deserted.
Desert.
You get the picture. Yeah.
That makes me think about
Yeah.
Like 3 things.
Yeah.
Yes.
3 things.
My iPhone.
Nice.
I'd love to say some type of book, but I'd be lying. I mean, like a book that I've never read, I guess.
it. You have the time now.
Yeah. Probably a lot of food. I'd take that with me. And a life raft, I guess. I don't know. You guys ask good questions. I wish I had these in advance so I could have thought about it more.
Do you have a pet?
We're getting a dog in 2 weeks.
See, you take your future dog.
Yep.
Your TBD dog. You guys have a name already picked out?
No, we're working on it. We haven't seen the dog yet. The puppy. It's a puppy, and we've seen pictures. So we've got a list, and we may wait till we actually get the puppy before we decide.
That's fair. Feel the vibe. Feel the vibe.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll say future puppy, a raft, and food.
Or my iPhone until the battery runs down.
He's stuck on the iPhone, yeah.
It would be funny if he just uses the iPhone just to check Facebook and Instagram. Still here, guys.
I'm doing selfies because it's so pretty there, even though I'm about to die.
The right lighting, guys, just happened. Facebook living, yeah. Anybody sees this, call the Coast Guard.
Yeah.
All right, so one of our second to last questions are any new projects that you're excited about? Obviously, we're in quarantine, but hopefully you're working on some fun stuff.
Boy, times are tough right now. This is the slowest it's been for me comedy-wise since I first started, I guess. So, I mean, the podcast we do, the Nateland podcast, which I'm part of, we're continuing trying to work on that, make it bigger and better and whatnot. But I feel like a loser now because I don't have anything to.
You're just writing, I presume, right? Getting your next hour ready.
Yeah. I mean, I'm always writing and stuff like that, and trying to get on stage when I can. But I don't have like any albums about to come out or any new, specials or anything like that about to come out. So
there's potential here, Brian. There's potential.
You guys have really depressed me about how little I've got going on.
Well, you're welcome.
We try.
I think I may just quit comedy now.
Oh, jeez.
I need to quit. That's what you've done.
Right. Before we release this episode, we'll probably publicize it this way. Yeah. This episode made him good comedy. It's gonna actually pick up. Yeah.
Nobody's heard of somebody quit.
In San Antonio, the guys shooting the sign were probably comedians at one point. Yeah.
Yeah, I bet they
were. Speaking of writing, though, how often do you write? Do you actually have like a schedule? Like you set aside some time every day, or is this just whenever things kind of like click and you just sit down and write?
I used to sit down and try to write some every day because I hear comics like Jerry Seinfeld talk about how he sets aside time, and then I get motivated. I'm like, I'm going to treat this like a real job, and I'm going to devote this many hours every day to writing. But what ends up happening is when something comes to my head, I jot it down and then flesh it out. But I have no set schedule. I may get 3 ideas at once.
Right.
And then I may go forever with nothing new. And I find myself, because there's so few shows right now in Nashville to even get on, I find myself less motivated.
True.
And I'm like, when am I even going to get a chance to try this out? Like,
true.
It's going to be an old premise by the time, I get to do it. But I am constantly writing, but I don't have a set schedule. I kind of just, I was in my mid-30s when I even started doing stand-up comedy, when I went to my first open mic or anything. So I was much older than most of the comics there. And then I did my day job for many years while I was trying to do comedy. And then eventually got to the point where I could quit my day job and go full time. But I mean,
see, Brian, you give me hope. You give me hope. I started at 37, so.
All right.
So I feel like you give me hope. I'm like, okay, this wasn't the worst idea I've had.
And you're 38 now?
Yeah.
Oh, so you've really just been doing it for a short time.
Yeah, a little over a year. I kind of stopped counting during part of the pandemic because we weren't. So for me, I'm a numbers person, so I'm like, I can't count this. I'm
Yeah.
not going to count this as tenure.
So when I met you, you had just started then.
Yeah, I was probably like 3 months in. Yeah.
Okay.
And my husband got me those tickets for Nate, and he was like, because I had just seen the special, and I was like, of course, I'm like full into it, and he was like, I
Mhm.
got these tickets, and I was like, you did? So then that
Mhm.
was that. Because I've never sat at a comedy show so close because normally comics are in the back. So
Yeah.
it was a very different feeling being close to the stage and seeing the show from that perspective.
Well, I rarely. We have one comedy club in Nashville called Zany's Comedy Club,
Yeah.
and it's a really great club. And we have a couple of smaller clubs around town, but there's only one like really good club, I would say. And I rarely have to pay. I mean, almost any show I can come in and watch for free, which is a great thing.
Oh
Right.
yeah,
But
yeah.
last night I actually bought a ticket and went in and just sat down and watched the audience. And it was just a showcase show. It was a fundraiser for a food bank, but all of my friends were on the show. I wasn't, and it was a little weird. Like the whole time, I'm like, oh, I'm jealous. I'm not on stage. All my friends are back in the green room living it up. I'm wondering what they're doing.
And
Yeah.
Sitting at a table with two strangers watching the show.
you had to pay for it.
I had to pay
Yeah.
for it.
Right, yeah.
Where
Was
did
this
that
the
come
one?
from?
Was it the one with the 8 comics with Nate and Dusty?
Yes.
Okay,
That was
I saw that. Yeah,
Yeah, so
Yep.
Dusty was in town, and this guy got to work with him
yeah. I
Oh,
worked with
really?
Dusty. Yeah, this is just a month back actually.
about a
He's
month ago.
pretty.
Yeah.
I like him. Yeah, he's pretty nice.
Yeah. Yeah. Dusty's one of my good. I mean, most of the guys on that show are my closest friends. So,
Nice.
All right. So our very last question that we ask all our lovely guests:
okay.
when someone Googles you, what do you want your autocomplete to be? So someone's going to Google Brian Bates. What's the next words that come out?
Boy, another good question. You guys are tough.
You're actually making us feel really good about ourselves.
I feel really proud of myself right now.
Yeah.
I guess, I mean, it's very simple, but Brian Bates, comedian, because obviously that's why I'm wanting them to find me. And you might be like, well, obviously they know you're a comedian if they're searching for you, but there's a lot of Brian Bateses out there. That's
are.
I'm a name. I'm not even the most famous Brian Bates. There's, you know how sad that is? I set up a Google alert for myself like 10 years ago, and every day I have to look on my phone when I wake up in the morning at
Which
other
one's
Brian
good?
Bates who are doing much better things than me. They're killing it, and it's never me. There's a Brian Bates in Oklahoma City that's called what's he? Video Vigilante or something like that, and he goes around and like shoots videos of hookers or something, and like, but he's been on all these
Hey,
shows.
we definitely got the wrong Brian Bates on this show. I want that guy.
I know. And you should. That's what we're getting.
Oh my word!
Actually, I don't want that guy. I just want his videos. That's all I want.
That's
But
crazy.
if you Google Brian Bates, I'm probably not the first one who comes up. It's probably
I saw
that.
Brian Bates author. That was the big one I saw, author. And I was like, okay. So I went down.
This is
Really?
what I get. Look
Oh,
at
you
the third
too?
one.
Oh,
Look at the third one.
Oh, man.
Oh, okay. Brian Bates obituary, and then right underneath that, Brian Bates OKC. That's the Video Vigilante.
Okay, but
You're
for
the
me,
top
you're the
four.
first one.
Yeah, you're top.
Well, good. I am a somebody. Maybe because of this podcast.
That's what it is. This is what it is.
Me.
This is the turning point for everything.
I just want to, my only goal in comedy is just to be the most famous Brian Bates. That's the only thing I hope for.
Maybe that's what your autocomplete should be. Brian Bates, the most famous.
Yeah, exactly.
That's hilarious. Well, Brian, that is our show. We want to thank you so much for doing it. We appreciate it. I know it's pandemic time, but we appreciate you taking the time out of your lounging schedule because that is very important.
Well, thank you. It was very fun. And if I ever make it back to San Antonio, I hope to see you guys in person.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
definitely. I hope to see you in Nashville sometime. I do plan to come there sometime. Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be great. I mean, it's a great city, and right now everything's kind of shut down. But when things get back to normal, please come check it out.
Sure.
Absolutely. Well, everybody, that's our show. We'll see you soon.
All right. So we made Brian Bates quit comedy. This was his last podcast, last performance, whatever you want to call it.
This
And
was so not our intention.
I'm moving to Nashville just to take his place because he said so.
So you're saying there's an opening.
There is.
No, this was a great episode. This makes me want to go see Nashville. I mean, after my Neats episode, of course, we wanted to go, and then COVID happened. As soon as COVID gets lifted, Nashville's my favorite place. I want to go. I want to go to it, and hopefully people will adopt me there.
You want to be adopted?
Why not? I'll be a Nashvillian. Is that what they're called?
No, they're called Nashvillers.
Nashvillers?
Yeah.
But Nashvillians sounds funnier.
No, it sounds a little villainous. It sounds, I don't know. Edit this out.
I don't know what that word was. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That makes you want to go visit Nashville, doesn't it?
I always wanted to visit Nashville. I've been there once, and I think it's a great place. Now with the comedy booming there, I think, yeah, it's a good time to go there. Well,
absolutely. Yeah.
after
I'll
the
just be
vaccine.
a stowaway in your wife's suitcase. They'll never know I'm in there. Yeah, I'll be ready. All right. Well, that's our episode for today. We hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, please like and subscribe down below. We would love to hear feedback, any kind of comments. And if you really, really enjoyed it, please share it with your friends, family, and enemies. Until next time, I'm Mary Picarazzi.
And I'm Tanveer Arora.
Thanks.